Okay, so I want to call to order the special meeting to, wait a second, are we ready? Thank you, Marie. I'd like to call to order the special meeting for May 20th, 2019, and this is to interview an appointment candidate for the vacancy for the remaining term on Environmental Advisory Committee, and I think we are interviewing Ms. Judy Bishop tonight.
Correct.
All right, would you please come up here, ma'am?
Sure.
So I think you were interviewed before.
I was.
Okay.
Well,
I'll
over
just,
a year ago.
just remind you of how it goes. We have your resume here. So if
Okay.
there's something additional that you'd like to tell us, or expound on something, but you're certainly welcome to do that. And then we just kind of go around and ask a question.
Sure.
So did you want to?
Okay. Well, I could just introduce myself very briefly. I know I interviewed with some of you before last year. My name is Judy Bishop, and I'm applying for the Ward 6 opening on the Environmental Advisory Committee. And I wanted to thank you first for allowing me to interview tonight, since I know I couldn't make the scheduled interview last week, and I certainly appreciate the opportunity. You see on my resume, I guess everyone does have the resume. I have extra copies if anyone needs it. I have been a civil engineer for over 30 years. In fact, I work with the township engineer. I've been very involved with McCandless projects, transportation related, for the better part of 27 years. My engineering experience is more transportation related. I do have some stormwater engineering background. It's not my specialty, but I do have some background in it, some working knowledge, and any questions that come up, I certainly have the resources to take care of those sorts of things. One thing I would like to add to my resume, I know that it's fairly new, wasn't there before, is I am now a volunteer trip leader for Venture Outdoors. Mm-hmm. So that just kind of leads in, just point out that my favorite place to be is outdoors, and that's kind of what brings me my interest to this committee. I love to hike, bike, everything outdoors, and I'm very familiar with the hiking trails in the area, and I know I'm interested that you've been looking at Wall Park and expanding trails and that sort of thing. So that's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure how much more you need to hear from me. That's pretty much what's in the resume. I'm open really to any questions anybody has.
Yeah, I'll start off, and I looked at your resume or your front sheet, and it says you're a Rachel Carson Trail Conservatory volunteer. Could you tell me what type of projects you do for them?
Sure. Mainly, I've participated in the challenge for several years. I've been to several of the board meetings. I have helped out as a volunteer during the Rachel Carson Challenge as a trail sweep and working at the aid stations. And I'm very good friends with some people on the board, so I've been out doing some cleanup. My friend is in charge of one of the sections, Log Cabin Hill, out. I think that's out near the mills. So I've helped a little with trail maintenance, but mostly helping to volunteer on the day of the challenge.
But this is sort of throwing a loop into the whole thing, a twist into the whole thing.
Sure.
As part of our implementable comprehensive plan, which I got as a liaison for the Planning Commission, we're supposed to create a active transportation advisory committee, an active transportation advisory committee to implement part of the plan, the trail part of the plan.
Right.
Would that be something you would be interested in?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because I was thinking, we have 3 people interviewing for this position.
Okay.
And if we could you could possibly think about that active transportation advisory committee, and then forego this plan. That would be great.
I mean, it's certainly something I'd like to hear more about. It does sound like it's right up my alley. But
well, I just happen to have I happen to have a things to do list, and you could take us and read it. Not now.
Now,
In case you don't have
now you're
anything
being
to do.
kicked off. Now, the other thing too is, I don't know how quickly we'll get to that, but
Right.
you could apply for this, still being
Right.
accepted on here, and then apply for that and
Right.
give up this position too.
Yeah, but I'm
Okay,
just
yeah, how
thinking-
far out is this
We
position?
don't
here?
know that.
We don't know
We
yet.
don't know that.
We're just starting into it.
We got
and,
2 other committees we're establishing right now.
Okay, and I understand this position here goes through what, August of 2020? So it's really
The-
only a year
Yeah,
for this
yeah,
this
it's
time
70
frame.
months.
And you're allowed to be part of 2 anyhow, so.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
No? I thought she was
No.
allowed to have a second.
1.
I thought we had changed that. All right.
Okay, well,
Well,
thanks.
we
I'm
can
sorry
always-
for that.
you can always-
I hate to throw you a loop, but.
Oh,
it
that's
just
okay.
came as
Thanks
I was
for-
studying that stuff.
Thinking about me for that as well.
Okay, okay.
In which ways would you like to promote our healthy McCandless environment?
Well, I think, number one, even though I'm a transportation engineer and I deal mostly with vehicles, I think, number one, getting people out of their cars is very, very important. That's just the way our society is going. Even my profession, it's not all cars, it's bike trails, it's sidewalks, and almost anything I design now has to have that component in it. And I think that's extremely important, and anything we can push to get people out of the cars is important. And also involving young people. I think at this point with our environmental issues, the young people get it better than we do. And I want to keep that enthusiasm going with the kids, whether it's meeting with scouts, who a lot of times know more than we do too. Outreach to the younger folks is good. And I'm thrilled about the composting seminar actually that's coming up, because that's something that I've been meaning to do and never really taken the time. So really getting out and promoting those sort of things I think is wonderful.
Great, thank you.
So, Judy.
Yes.
With your transportation background, again, on the same lines, the e-mobility movement that's underway and the electrification of the vehicles. Are you familiar with the Pennsylvania Electrification Committee that's promoting electric vehicles?
Probably not as familiar as I should be at this point. We're starting to do more learning about connected vehicles and those sort of things. But this is not that. This is
I
electric
raise that
vehicles.
because as we move more towards renewable electricity, and I think the electrification e-mobility movement is an important part of smog reduction
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
and pollution reduction. They are doing things around the state now, and I'd like to see our environmental committee championing some of that. We've got an opportunity where we can maybe have a electric
It's a
vehicle
bus station.
drop and ride.
Sure.
They do that to familiarize people with electric vehicles. And half the challenge right now of getting where we need to be is getting people familiar with the concept of electric vehicles and comfortable.
And right, feeling comfortable with them, and promoting how far they've come with the technology. They don't have the same restrictions on distance and that sort of thing. And I'm starting to see the electric charging stations popping up.
Is that something, if you're on the environmental committee, you consider,
Oh, most
moving that
definitely,
along?
sure. And I should have the resources to at least dig up more information on those types of efforts.
And then that effort would nicely segue into the committee.
Yes, it would.
Okay, thank you, Judy.
Sure.
Judy, do you have any kind of programs that you work with in your everyday job that would benefit the town? What I'm getting at, I guess, is your experience is great. Would we be able to benefit from all of that experience that you have?
Well, I would hope so. One thing that's always important that I know we try and do is locate grants, funding sources for whether it's sidewalks. You see a lot more of those for now things getting people out of their cars. Bikes. I'm very interested in putting out more facilities for people to be able to bike everywhere, because obviously the roads around here aren't very conducive to that. If you live downtown, it's great. If you live in most of McCandless, not so great. So really think that's important, and I think I could help a lot with that, trying to locate grant money and those sorts of sources.
Thank you.
The one short question and one that's a little bit more complicated.
Okay.
The ADA ramps. How does McCandless stack up in the provision of ADA type of ramps and facilities for those who are disabled?
Along the roadways, you think
Yes.
you say? Well, number one, I know there aren't many sidewalks. And I think many of our neighborhoods were constructed at a time when the sidewalks weren't required. So basically the street is your pedestrian way. And when the street's your pedestrian way, you really don't have the need for the ramps. But much of what I do has to do with, you know, your traffic signals, your intersections, and in that, anything that we have updated, we're getting better. I know the town has just received some grant money to at least improve some of the push buttons and pedestrian signal heads. A lot of that's being constructed right now. So we're getting there.
Okay.
There's a long way to go.
The other thing, the encouragement of walking, which I think is certainly something that I endorsed, but I think of certain areas that, you know, I'd like to hear what your concept is, how a person would be utilized walking. For example, I live all the way at the top of Babcock Boulevard, just as a hill crest.
Okay.
And obviously I could walk around my neighborhood, but many people, if they start walking down Babcock, and it's a pretty steep
Right.
walk, and then coming back is worse. It's like, you know, what's your philosophy with
Well,
your ideal?
I think we're seeing some new projects here to install sidewalks. I mean, there's your simple thing, but we know it's not a simple thing to construct.
Well, I was thinking more, and I don't want to drag this
Sure.
aspect of it on. Not so much the absence or presence of sidewalks, but just the physical in our hilly environment.
Okay.
How does one mobile?
How do we make pedestrian inclines?
Well, you end up with a lot of zigzagging type ramps. if
Might be
you're
pretty
going
expensive.
to switch back ramps to meet your ADA grades.
Yeah.
No, we definitely are very challenged in this area because of that. To me, I think just you have to give them a comfortable place to walk. Nobody's going to walk very far if they're walking in traffic. So in some cases, it's just a wider shoulder, but certainly you'd rather see more sidewalks or trails. That's even better. If you've got a trail that you don't have to walk along the roadway, then it's, you know, you kind of get 2 for 1. You get out and get done what you need to do in nature and fresh air, and but it definitely takes some creativity to try and figure out how to connect some of these
Thank you
areas.
very much.
Sure.
I don't have any questions.
Have you been able to attend any of the meetings?
I have not. No.
And I noticed you said you do a lot of work for the town. Do you see any conflict of interest in anything?
I don't think so. And I did talk with my supervision about this last year when I interviewed first time. But no, as far as my time goes, no, absolutely not. And my managers did not see any conflict in working with this committee.
That's my only 2 questions.
Okay.
Anyone have anything else? All right. Thank you.
All right.
For coming back.
Thank you
nice
very
to
much for
see
your
you.
time.